In the afternoon of August the 18th, 1930, the 100th anniversary of the birth of Franz Joseph I, Emperor of Austria. The room is ultra-modernistic in the style of its decorations and furnishings, but there remains a suggestion of old-fashioned warmth.
Put the laundry basket down there, Ernst.
Yes, my dear.
He always goes out and leaves that wireless set on when he knows it annoys the Herr Doctor. Frau Krug? Yes? The laundry is here. She wants to count it herself, and heaven help you if there's anything missing.
Not so much as a doily, upon my word.
Good afternoon, Ernst.
Frau Krug, good afternoon. Warming up a bit, isn't it?
Yes, it's lovely. All right, Cutty, I have the list.
7 pairs of drawers.
7, that's right. Oh, here, let me see how they've been done.
Beautifully laundered, Frau Krug, with creamy softness to caress your skin.
Not my skin, my husband's.
10,000 pounds.
How about the shirts?
1, 2, 3,
Elena!
4, 5,
What are you doing?
No, don't bother me
7.
now, Anton. How many undershirts?
2, 4, 6, 7.
7, that's right. I'm counting the laundry. Now the socks?
1 pair.
Forgive me, Elena, but will this great task keep you occupied for very long?
No, why?
There are a couple of students of mine out there.
11 pairs of
Would
socks.
you mind talking to them while they're waiting, huh? I want them to have a good look at you.
No, dear, by all means, send them in. Did you say 11?
Yes, ma'am. 5 wool and 6 silk.
Yes, that's right. Well, I'd better not let them see me with all this.
No, it might disillusion them. They imagine you as glamorous, regal.
Ah, do they?
Where they get such ideas, I don't know.
Perhaps they're very young.
Oh, yes, they are very young and painfully earnest. They're badly in need of a few lessons in the cultivation of grace.
Oh, this apron isn't very glamorous either.
No, I'm reasonably sure you can do better than that.
If you can keep them waiting a little while, I shall do better.
Thank you, Elena. I will bring them in here.
Oh, bring the laundry up to my room.
Gladly, Frau Krug.
Oh, Ernst,
Herr Krug.
have you heard any more about tonight?
I have. I was just over at Luca's hotel, and they're in a great state about it.
The police aren't going to stop it, are they?
No, Frau Luca has bribed the authorities.
Ernst!
Yes, coming, my dear. Coming at once. Come in, please.
I hope we're not disturbing Frau Krug.
No. She is eager to meet you.
She's very kind.
This is my father.
How do you do?
2 of my students, Ilse Hinrich and Emil Leutner.
How do you do?
How do you do?
My wife will be here in a minute. I have one more patient to see before we can begin our work. Now, when my wife comes in, I want you both to be very charming rather than scientific. Do you understand that?
You don't need to tell us that, Herr Professor.
Of course not. You're already a good psychiatrist. And you too, Ilse.
Oh, I don't know anything yet.
You stick at it for 2 or 3 years, and you'll know everything, as Emil does. Well, the laundry added up perfectly.
Good. I need a clean shirt.
And if I hear any more about that certain affair, I'll let you know.
Oh, please do, Ernst, because if there's a rumpus, they won't let the papers print anything about it. Do you think there will be a rumpus?
Unless I miss my guess, there'll be a good one.
Oh, I hope so.
Believe me, they're eager to have Frau Krug there.
I can believe that.
Come on now, Ernst.
Yes, my dear.
Good afternoon, Ernst.
Good afternoon, Herr Krug.
Oh, Herr Krug. He and I used to go to school together. Now he calls me Herr Krug. That's because I'm the father of my son. As if I deserve the credit. Do you want to know something?
About Frau Krug?
I never saw what was in my boy. Neither did his mother. We wanted him to follow my trade, shoemaking. But he had big ideas. He had to be a surgeon and a revolutionist. He was the wildest talker.
Because he knew the truth.
Well, he'd have been better off if he'd kept his mouth closed. They didn't like to be talked about the way he talked. They punished him.
Who were they?
The Habsburgs.
Oh,
Yes, that's who it was. They were smart, too. Whenever things became too hot for them here at home, they'd start another war and send all the worst of the troublemakers into the front line. They did that with him. But every soldier that was sent to him was marked unfit for further military service. He told them all to go home. Well, they soon put a stop to that. They took away his commission and made him a laborer in their stone quarries. And that's why he could never be a surgeon again. They crushed his hands with their stone.
how horrible.
Oh, it didn't upset him. He said, if I can't use my hands to chop people to pieces, I could still use my head. And he did. And now they don't put him in prison for what he says. They pay him. Why? They sent for my boy all the way from America, and he went across the ocean to tell those Americans how to live. They didn't know. And when he came back, he brought me a present. Yeah, that wireless machine there. Did you ever see as fine a one as that? It's mine, but he won't let me play it.
Oh, that's too bad.
Frau Krug.
How do you do?
Oh, how do you do, Frau Krug?
Ilse and Emil, the students.
Now, do sit down and tell me how you're getting on with your studies.
Well, I'm afraid I don't know very much yet. You see, I'm new. Emil is the professor's favorite.
Really? And what does the professor teach you?
Oh, everything.
Oh?
I mean, everything that's worth knowing.
For example?
Well, he makes us understand that if you'll only think right, you'll live right. I mean, if you can make what's in your subconscious come to the surface, then you'll know what it is, and you'll know what to do about it.
No. He's gone far beyond psychoanalysis. He teaches us to banish from the world all false fear of God, to know him and recognize him only as a measurable force in cosmic technology. He teaches us to look into ourselves, our bodies, our minds, and not to the vague hills of mysticism for the knowledge that will set us free.
Well, that does cover about everything, doesn't it? And when you've absorbed all this knowledge, what will you do with it?
I shall try to carry it to others, to share it with all mankind.
And how about you?
I suppose there'll be plenty of work for all of us.
Why, hardly more than 10 years ago, we were living under conditions of medievalism.
10 years?
When I look at the decaying relics of the old order, the gaunt, empty palace of the Habsburgs, and the silly monuments they erected to their own glory, why, I bless the war and the revolution that delivered us from the tyranny of ignorance.
And what do you say when you look at me?
At you, Frau Krug? What possible connection can you have with...
I'm one of the relics of the Middle Ages of 10 years ago.
You were the wife of the most enlightened scientist in Austria.
You worship him, don't you?
All youth must worship him. He is leading us from the darkness into the light.
Do you hear that, Father? Your son is a god.
Yes, that's what they say.
Frau Krug,
Yes?
there's a question I'd like to ask. You see, the point is that we, Emil and I, we know only the present, the age of reason since the revolution. You know something of the past.
Ilse.
Oh, that's quite all right. Why shouldn't I know the past? I'm old enough to be your mother.
Oh, no.
Well, practically. Now, come. What was the question that you want to ask?
It would be helpful to know how you see the changes, whether you think we're advanced for all our knowledge,
Well, aren't
or
you
whether...
content to take my husband's word for it that the world has improved?
I ask for no other assurance. I need none.
I know. But I gather that you're not so sure, Ilse.
The trouble is, I'm not sure of myself.
Oh?
I had an experience.
Ah, I see. Well, tell me about it.
I was in Nice on my holiday, and I called a taxi. When I was in it, I happened to look in the little mirror above the driver's seat, and I saw his eyes. He was staring at me, openly, insolently. They were the queerest eyes I've ever seen. I felt sure I'd seen him before. He was driving frightfully fast on those narrow roads that run along the edge of the cliffs. I thought the cab would go over any minute. Finally, I screamed out to him to stop, but I was so terrified I forgot to say it in French. But he did stop, and stepped from his seat in the front and climbed into the inside of the taxi and sat down beside me. And he said, "I thought so. There was something about your eyelids that identified you as a Viennese. I am Viennese, too. In fact, I'm one of those who imparted to Vienna its now faded glory." And he put his arms around me and kissed me.
Well.
A taxi driver.
He kissed me so that I couldn't seem to utter a word of protest. Then he said, "Permit me to introduce myself. I am the Archduke Rudolf Maximilian von Habsburg."
Yes. Father.
I don't believe it. It was probably some imposter.
Oh, no. I asked them at the hotel when I got back. They told me he was well known in Nice.
What did he look like?
He looked as if he'd stepped right out of one of those portraits in the old palace.
Oh, yes, I know.
Well, that's why I thought I'd seen him before. And when I wanted to pay him the fare, he waved it away and said, "Nonsense, my dear, you've been my guest."
Yeah, just like him, isn't it, Elena? Just exactly like all of them.
If I'd been there, I should have punched his nose.
No, Emil, I don't think you would have.
Indeed, you wouldn't. It's all very well for you to talk, but if you'd seen him as I did, you wouldn't have been able to say a word except, "Yes, Your Imperial Highness."
I gather that you considered the experience not entirely disagreeable.
I can't decide what I think about it.
Have you consulted my husband?
I haven't had the courage to confess to him how weak I was.
You don't have to consult him. Elena, you know more about these things than Anton ever will with all his experiments. Tell them about that time when the old emperor caught you and Rudolf Maximilian posing on the fountain at Schönbrunn, both naked as the day you were born.
Oh, then you knew him.
Knew him?
Oh, dear, I've said something awful.
Yes.
No, my dear, it wasn't awful at all. I enjoyed every word of it. Anton, you should have stayed away for another half hour. I was just about to give your students a lecture.
Oh, on what subject?
The past.
Whose past?
Mine.
Then don't let me interrupt. Proceed with it at once. It's very exciting.
Oh, no, it isn't. It's very dull. You see, I was one of the many evils of the old regime. I and that weird taxi driver who entertained you in his cab.
What is all this?
Oh, Ilse had an encounter with Rudolf.
Here, in Vienna?
Oh, no, in Nice.
Ah.
You must tell him all about it. He'll analyze your emotional reactions as he analyzed mine. I needed his treatment, a great deal of it. He cured me, and I delivered myself, body and mind, to the new God.
My dear.
Oh, you can believe in him. You can worship him. You can follow him to the last statistic.
Well, all this is elevating our studies to an alarmingly high plane. If you neophytes will step into my office, we'll celebrate high mass.
Some callers have left their cards, ma'am.
Who? Who is it?
Oh, just a minute, Kathy. Goodbye, Ilse. And don't worry about those emotions. They're not uncommon.
I know. That's what worries me.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Elena! Elena! It's the Count and Countess von Steins.
Von Steins?
And Frau Lucher, the old lady herself. And that Poveromo, that guide.
They're here?
Yes, ma'am.
Certainly they're here, and I know why.
They're downstairs in the hall. They beg to see you.
Will you wait in the office? I will be with you in a moment.
Yes, of course.
What do they want?
They wanted to go to that party at Lucher's hotel.
Party? What party?
Oh, it's the 100th anniversary of the birth of that noble monarch, Franz Joseph I. Frau Lucher thought that it should be fittingly observed.
Yes, and she's bribed the police.
Do you want to go, Elena?
Oh, Anton.
Well,
I don't want to see these people.
why not? They're friends of yours, aren't they?
Well, they were a long time ago.
Well, then in that case, I can't see why... Wait in the hall, Kathy.
Yes, Herr Doctor.
Why do you want her to wait in the hall?
Elena, if they are old friends of yours, I can't see any reason why you should refuse them. Unless
Unless what?
there might be disagreeable associations.
But of course there are disagreeable associations. The Count and Countess von Steins are dreadful people. They were two of the worst of the court toadies.
Yes, but what about this Poveromo? He's only a harmless and rather pathetic professional guide. There's nothing upsetting about him.
But don't you remember he was one of the cronies of the Archduke?
And Frau Lucher, what's wrong with her?
Oh, I hate her. I hate the sight of her hotel.
Why? Because it was the scene of so many of your youthful indiscretions with him?
Are you talking about Rudolf Maximilian?
That damn name again. Now, please, Elena, if you don't want to see them, then don't see them. But don't ask me what to do. I have these students on my hands. I'm very busy.
Did you hear what he said? That damned name. He can't seem to get over it.
Kathy,
Yes, ma'am.
tell them to come up.
Yes, ma'am.
That's the way, Elena. It'll do you good to talk to him. I often think you don't see half enough of your old friends.
Go to your room, Father.
Why?
Because I want you to.
But I'd like to have a look at
Now
them.
go on. Please.
Oh, dear. They never let me see anything interesting that goes on in this house.
In here,
I can't
please.
play with my wireless even.
Elena!
Oh, Tati, I'm
my
angel, my beautiful little angel. Hello, Franz, how are you?
Not very well, thank you.
Oh, I'm so sorry. And hello, Puffy.
Helene.
Good afternoon, Frau Lucher.
Good afternoon, Frau Krug. Would you mind if I sat down?
Oh, no, everybody sit down.
Thank you.
My feet hurt.
I can't take my eyes off you, my little angel. You're lovely. Oh, I'm about to sob.
Now, don't be embarrassing, Tati.
Let her sob if it'll make her any happier.
Where have you been?
In a ghastly London suburb.
Upper Tooting, if you must know.
You mind if I smoke?
Oh, no. Have a cigarette.
No, thank you. I have my cigars.
Still smoking the same brand?
No. Those Cubans no longer send the cream of the crop to Vienna.
Oh, Elena, if you only knew what we've been through. I've been a seamstress, my darling, a seamstress. We've gone without lunch for 3 months in order to save enough to be here. And I give you my word, when we arrived here this morning and drove through the streets, we wept. We literally wept to see that our beloved Vienna is undergoing its last gruesome agonies.
Oh, but those aren't death agonies, Tati. They're the throes of childbirth. A new life is being created.
You may well say that. New life seems to have done well for you.
Yes, it has.
Elena, I hope we're to be presented to your husband.
Oh, well, I'm afraid he is rather busy just now.
What's he like, this doctor of yours?
Well, he is brilliant, charming, kind.
And famous. When I'm guiding American tourists past here, I point with pride. Residents of the eminent Dr. Krug. And they're thrilled.
Especially the women.
Yes.
Isn't it about time to come to the main subject? That is, if you all feel there have been enough polite preliminaries.
Well, there's no great hurry.
By all means, proceed, Lucher.
Well, in so many words, Frau Krug. They want you to change your mind about attending the party this evening. They beg me to come with them and talk with you on the supposition that I can terrorize anyone into doing anything I ask. Strictly between ourselves, I don't think you'll be missing much if you don't come.
Well, if that's what you think, then why are you giving this party?
Even I have my sentimental moments, Countess. When I realized that this was the 100th anniversary, I thought we might have a revival of the old insanity for one evening at my expense. I thought there might be a bit of amusement. However, I've decided that I was over-optimistic. So now you know how I feel about all this, Frau Krug. Perhaps you'll be good enough to tell them how you feel and get it over.
You really can't disappoint us, Elena. We've looked forward so to this and to having you there, laughing in the way you always laugh.
Yes, but that's just it, Franz. I couldn't laugh. I'd probably weep.
Splendid. We'll all weep together and have a glorious time.
When you're sufficiently gloomy, you'll start throwing bottles through windows, I know.
Who's to be there?
Old General Hertzler is expecting.
Is he?
Yes. Do you know what he's doing now? He's a train announcer in the railway station at Erfurt.
Oh, the poor old dear.
And Kalisch is coming. He's a bookkeeper or somewhere or other. And then the two Köpkes. Oh, I forget what they do.
They run a lodging house in Zermatt, and I've heard...
Yes?
Oh, never mind.
And the beautiful Gisela von Kret. She's here already.
Gisela?
She's a governess with a Sicilian family in Palermo.
And who else? Is there anyone else?
Well, of course, there were a good many who wanted to come, but they were lacking in funds.
Oh, but more will turn up at the last minute to help us consume Luca's champagne.
No? Did I say that champagne would be served?
But I have never attended a party at the Hotel Luca without champagne.
You're thinking of the days when we paid, and well, for our drinks.
Oh, I think Frau Lucher won't be stingy with her champagne. Will you?
That's right, Elena. You were the only one who could ever order her about. You and Rudolph. What in God's name are you roaring at?
Oh, I was just thinking of something. You remember it, Puffy? The night that Rudolph gave her the diamond necklace. Oh, you were there.
Oh, I was
He
indeed.
came stalking into my cafe at 4:00 in the morning, cursing at me, cursing at Stroop, presenting medals to the busboys. He said he had to have a magnum of 1812, a basket of pomegranate sand, a diamond necklace for Fräulein Verbrüsch at once, or he'd break every bone in my whole body. I had to run Barnowski, the jeweler, out of bed to get the necklace.
Served him right, the old bandit.
And when I gave His Imperial Highness the necklace, he never said so much as a thank you. He merely snatched it and then threw it into your lap, Helena.
No, he didn't give me the necklace until later when we were upstairs. He first took hold of my hand and said, "Isn't it about time for a dance?" And then he waltzed me out of the room, and on the way out we bumped into you.
But I burned his neck with my cigar.
Herr Doctor.
But Anton, are you finished with your students already?
Yes, I dismiss them. I was anxious to meet your friends.
Oh. This is my husband,
How do you do, Frau Luca?
Herr Doctor.
the Count and Countess von Steins,
Herr Professor.
Herr Poveromo.
Yes, I know Herr Poveromo.
Herr Professor, we came to beg Elena, to plead with her to be with us this evening.
It isn't so much a matter of pleading.
The fact is, Herr Professor, that without Frau Krug, the party will be a disaster.
Well, in that case, I hope she'll go.
There, Elena, that settles it. Your husband approves.
Perhaps the Herr Professor Doctor will also attend.
Oh, that's very kind of you, but I really couldn't. I'm afraid I shouldn't quite belong.
And I've been afraid I shouldn't belong either, but now I'm beginning to think that it might be great fun.
Good for you, Elena.
And good for you, Herr Doctor. You are worthy of her.
Well, now that's settled. We can go.
Just 1 minute, Elena.
Yes, Puffy?
Elena, I think I know why you're changing your mind.
Why?
Because you realize this celebration will be nothing more than a gathering of broken-down outcasts like myself, with no one to give us animation, no one to give us the illusion of youth. But I'm afraid that it may not be quite what you expect.
What are you talking about?
I received a message this afternoon.
Yes?
I was instructed to say nothing about it to anyone, but I think you should know about it before you go to that party, and you too should know, Herr Professor, if I might have a word with you in private.
In private? What on earth do you want?
You'll forgive me.
Rudolph.
He's to be there.
No.
He left Nice yesterday on his way to Vienna.
Rudolph?
Oh, I can't believe it. It's too good to be true.
Will they allow him to cross the border?
No. They'll never let him in, after all the things he's said and done. They're not so stupid as to allow the most violent member of the Habsburg faction to get back into Austria.
Well, regardless of all that, Elena, I thought you should know. Well, I ask your pardon, Herr Professor, for having mentioned the subject.
Not at all. There is nothing I can say. It is for Elena to decide.
I'm not going.
You can't change your mind, Elena. We need you. Have you forgotten all those times?
Yes,
when you-
I have forgotten. And my dear old friends, I advise you to forget too.
You're asking a great deal of people who have nothing but memories to live on.
But that's just it. You're trying to live on something that doesn't exist. That's why you have to drug yourselves with such infantile pretenses as this reunion.
Oh, I never hoped to hear a more heartless, brutal statement. And from you, Elena, of all people.
I know it's brutal, and I feel miserable for having said it, if that's any consolation to you. But it's all true, every word of it, and you know it is.
Of course it's true. You only wish you'd said it all to me before I let myself in for this nonsense.
It was very good of you to warn me, Puffy, but the warning didn't make the slightest difference. You can see why. And so can you, Luca. You've been in Vienna all through this. You know how changed everything is.
I know, my dear Elena. We've put you in a horribly unfair position.
I am not enjoying this discussion. Come on. I must arrange about the flowers for the party. I'm getting them second-hand from Grün the undertaker. Goodbye, Frau Krug.
Goodbye.
Step in at the hotel sometime for a cup of coffee.
Goodbye, Elena. I doubt very much that we shall see you again.
You see, we start the homeward journey to England tomorrow.
Goodbye, Franz.
Professor Doctor.
Goodbye.
I'm sorry, Elena. Very sorry.
Goodbye, Puffy. Come to see us again soon. Perhaps my husband can do something for you.
My duties as professional guide occupy much of my time, but perhaps I'll find a brief opportunity. Goodbye, Herr Doctor.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, Helena.
You did not appear to the best advantage in that encounter.
Well, what could I have said or done to make those imbeciles understand?
When I came into this room, you were laughing with them. You were just about to accept their invitation.
Well, why did you come in here at all if you were so colossally busy? Why didn't you let me get rid of them by myself?
I came to the conclusion that you should go to that party.
What?
There seems to me no reason why you shouldn't.
Are you going to carry on the attack?
Attack? Against what?
Against my peace of mind?
I thought so.
Oh, I suppose you consider that it will be good for me to go there and feel wretched and out of place, merely to assure myself that I'm right.
If you take my advice, Elena, you will go. You know, you may not be quite the calm, superior being that you fancy yourself.
Are you prescribing for me as though I were one of your patients?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm doing. The tender spot has been uncovered. Now we can take measures to cure it. Elena, as your family physician, as well as your husband, I order you to go to Lucas tonight and do the inane things you used to do, and that you still secretly think were gloriously romantic. My darling, you're tied to those people by a cord that's strong even though it's invisible. You must cut that cord. And here's the chance to do it.
Anton, when I require your professional services, I shall make an appointment and come to your office.
The appointment is now.
Oh, Anton, this is so silly.
No, it isn't silly.
Two grown-up people shouting at each other.
Sometimes we have to shout. Elena, there's never been a complete understanding between us. There's been a ghost in our house, an arrogant ghost, blocking the fulfillment of our life together.
That damn name.
Yes. When I heard he might be there tonight, it was something of a shock. But then I thought of the advice I had given to other patients of mine. You've seen what 10 years have done to the Count and Countess von Steins. Well, see what the same years have done to him. Go to this party, have a good look at him, and then come home and admit that I am right.
You're always right, Anton. That's your only fault.
Yes, I've often worried about that. Now come, my dear, dress yourself up and try to persuade your old friends that you're still one of them. Let yourself go completely and see what happens.
Let myself go? Is that the prescription?
Why not?
Elena, can I play the wireless, please?
No. Put on that white dress, You know, the one you got in Paris, yes? You look lovely in that.
He wants you to dress up? What for? Does he want you to go to the party?
Oh, he's a little mixed up.
I don't understand, Elena. Has anything gone wrong?
No, Father. Not yet. Why don't you play the wireless?
Now?
Yes, dear. I want to hear it.
Ah, Elena, you're my friend. Listen, Elena. It's the band at the Bristol. They always play the old tunes for half an hour before supper to give us old-timers an appetite. It's beautiful, isn't it?
No. Anton?
Oh, what do you want him for? He'll only make us turn it off.
What is it?
Will you please look in the safe? In my jewel box. There's a necklace there. A diamond necklace.
I'll get it.
You didn't mean what you said about the music, did you, Elena? It really is beautiful, isn't it?
Yes, Father. Beautiful.
Shall we waltz?
Yes. Yes.
A private room in the Hotel Lucca, a venerable tavern built in the gaslit 80s, which retains an intimation of Viennese caprice. Its sombre salons can still sparkle with happy imaginings of frivolities which no longer are, perhaps never were, but which eternally should be.
The program of music for the evening, Frau Lucca.
There is too much Mozart, Pretzi.
No doubt, Frau Lucca.
No doubt, whatever. They will want waltzes, appassionata, until they get drunk, and then they will want more waltzes. They will want to weep on each other's shoulders, you understand?
Perfectly, ma'am.
Marshal, I'm ready for the wines.
I have arranged everything.
Oh, have you? Champagne. Clicquot, 1911. You are planning to serve that rabble, Clicquot 11.
It's a matter of tradition.
You are putting tradition before common sense, are you?
Oh, it isn't that, Frau Lucca. I only felt
The
that...
employees of this hotel will take their notions of tradition and of everything else from me. You will serve tizzana with the roast. A half bottle for each of them. When they've guzzled that, nothing but beer. Vienna beer, not the Munchner.
Very good, ma'am.
You will serve the aperitifs in here. That is all.
Yes, ma'am. To your posts. March.
Herr Pomerano!
Herr Baron.
What? Oh, I'm greatly obliged for the restoration of the title.
Are they beginning to arrive?
Yes, aperitifs are in order.
Yes, Herr Baron.
I came to see you about the final arrangements.
The final arrangements are made.
With particular reference to the wine.
With the soup, sherry, 9 shillings. With the trout, Grinsinger, 7 shillings.
Oh.
With the roast, tizzana, 9 shillings.
Oh, tizzana. Is that the best that this superior establishment can afford?
On this occasion, yes.
There will be complaints.
You people are not paying for this affair. I am.
Oh, we are aware of that condition. Nevertheless, I must insist there will be complaints.
Puffy, did that message you received say what time he would arrive?
I expected him on the afternoon train from Salzburg, but he was not on it.
No. It's now 8:30.
There will be another train.
Yes, and he won't be on that either. It's just as I thought. They've stopped him at the border. Are there any unexpected arrivals?
No. Here's the complete list. Only 8 names instead of the expected 30.
Let me see it.
Frau Lucca.
Yes.
The police, ma'am.
Police? Thought I'd settled that. What do you want?
The Herr Inspector thought it might be as well for me to have a look around.
Go on ahead and look. You'll observe nothing of the slightest interest.
Will the reception be held in there?
Yes, and it will be kept in there.
I'll look around in there, then.
If he had arrived, it would have been different. I would have served the best. I'd even have done it if she had consented to come. But for the rest of you, tizzana is good enough.
Elena was right, of course. She'd have had a poor time.
Yes, she was right, but I'd like to have heard what the great psychologist said to her after we'd gone.
Who is to be present at this function?
Here is the list. And if he can find any cause for excitement in that group, then perhaps it may be a good party after all.
Is this all?
That is all. And as I informed the inspector, there'll be no one of the slightest importance here tonight.
If you don't mind, I think I'll have a look at these guests of yours and make certain that this list is correct.
You're calling me a liar?
No, I'm only being careful.
Perhaps you'd like me to present them to you formally.
Tolini, give that policeman a drink.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, Frau Lucher, Frau Lucher!
Well, what is it?
Look!
No.
Good evening, venerable strumpet.
No!
Still wearing the red flannel drawers, eh? Thank God there's something in Vienna that hasn't changed.
How did you come here?
I came by various means of conveyance, which I shall not describe in detail. You received no letter from me?
No.
Good, I wrote none. There's the same nauseating stench of fish in this hotel. God, I believe it's the same fish.
Do they know?
Who are they?
Puffy. Count von Stein's Hörsler.
Is it necessary for me to advise them of my intention? And is it?
They will be startled.
As they should be. I shall, of course, occupy the Imperial Suite.
The Imperial Suite no longer exists.
Restore it.
Do you happen to know that the police are in the building?
You? Were you addressing the chef, yeah?
Your Imperial Highness. You may go.
Wait. You recognized me, didn't you?
Yes, Your Serene Highness.
You did not recognize me. I am traveling incognito.
Yes, Your Serene Highness.
All right, back to your kitchen. If your memory were better, you would remember that this was the Imperial Suite.
Yeah, so it is. I want some brandy.
Brandy.
At once, Your Serene Highness.
It's incredible. I believe that even the aged worms in your woodwork recognize me and are thrilled by my return. After all these years with nothing to do but sit back and watch themselves decay, I don't blame them. How have you managed to keep this decrepit establishment going?
We have plenty of trade.
The brandy, Frau Lucher.
Loud-mouthed American tourists, I suppose.
Yes, they flock here to ogle the scenes of your triumphs.
Disgusting.
Tell Tolini I want to see him.
Yes, Frau Lucher.
I find the whole aspect of this place depressing and at the same time rather gratifying.
Here's your brandy. Now, I wasn't joking when I warned you about the police.
Will you please not talk when I am speaking? Sit down. Does this city realize that it's like a corpse that twitches with the reflexes of life? A gruesome spectacle. I don't envy you, Luca, having to abide here among the remains. No, I didn't really mean that. I do envy you. Who's here besides Buffy and that senile, incompetent General Hertzler?
The Baroness von Kret and Köpke and his wife and Palisch.
And Delena Veresh? She's here, too.
No,
She's late.
she's not coming.
What? She's not in Vienna?
Yes, but she has flatly refused to come.
Oh. She didn't know that I would be here. Married, isn't she?
Yes, to a doctor, a very important doctor.
Have you seen her lately?
I went to her house today.
How is she? Old?
No.
Does she bulge? Does she bulge?
No.
Send for her.
She will not come.
Tell her that her one true lover has condescended to be present.
I tell you she will not come.
And I am telling you that she will come.
She has a different life now.
If by any chance she should not be here when I am ready, but you know the consequences, don't you, old filthy? You know.
There is something else in Vienna that is not changed. You are the same maniac, like all your wretched family.
No, not a maniac. It's only that I'm constantly intoxicated with my own charm. By God, Luca, I need a valet. And tell Elena
to take all the time she wants. I don't approve of women who jump into their clothes like fire horses. She must make every possible effort to look alluring.
You can use that room over there. You've used it before.
Good.
Stop! Stop!
Yes, Frau Luca.
You will take the tizzana off the ice. We will serve champagne. Clicquot. 1911.
What?
Did you hear?
The Clicquot 1911.
Yes. And there will be 9 covers instead of 8. Have them get that big chair that's in the office, that gold chair.
Yes, ma'am. 9 covers.
Put the gold chair at the head of the table. And I want caviar served.
You sent for me, Frau Luca?
Yes, I did. Ah, are you still here? Are there no other police matters to attend to?
9 covers? There are only 8 on this list.
I neglected to count myself. I am to attend the party.
The gold chair will be for you.
Why not? My hotel, isn't it? Go on, Stroop. Do as you're told.
Yes, ma'am.
Tolini, I want to send a message to the florists. The flowers they sent are all wilted. And as for you, policeman, I'd be grateful if you'd go straight to the Herr Inspector and tell him that I consider this intrusion by the police an unpardonable outrage. Do you hear that?
Yes, Frau Luca, I hear. But surely you'll agree that the police...
I'll agree to nothing. I've taken great pains to explain this whole affair to the authorities, and they assured me that there would be no interference.
I only know that I've been ordered to look in.
And you've obeyed your orders. You've seen everything and satisfied yourself that nothing harmful can come of this. It's all ridiculous stupidity, typical of the brainless asses who govern this city. Here, my good man, a little present for you. Now run along to the inspector and present to him my sincerest compliments.
I will, Frau Luca. Thank you. And if he sends me back, it won't be my fault.
I know that. Go on. See that the policeman gets out of the hotel. Then telephone Dr. Anton Krug's house and tell Frau Krug that the worst has happened.
The worst?
She'll understand. Tell her to get into a car and drive out of Vienna just as fast as she can.
Yes, Frau Luca, but what about the florist?
Great God, never mind the florist.
Where the hell is that valet?
Get back in that room.
It's the boss.
I told you to stay inside.
Is there such a thing as a valet in this bar, gentlemen?
Yes, he's coming right up.
Thank you, my sweet.
Your Imperial Highness.
I do not remember who you are, minion, but nevertheless, good evening.
Now do you understand what I meant by the worst?
I do, yes.
Tell her he's here. When he finds out she isn't, there'll be an uproar. He'll go after her. He'll break into her house and have a fight with her husband. If she wants to avoid a nasty scene, she'll have to get herself out of the city at once.
Yes, Frau Luca, at once.
Frau Luca, I just happened to take a look under the napkin in one of the ice buckets, and what did I see there? Tisana, that's what I saw. Tisana, sparkling dishwater.
Oh, hold your tongue, I've work to do.
Frau Luca! Frau Luca! Well, did you tell her that we insisted on champagne?
Yes, but she paid no attention.
I should have known that this would happen. She dragged us here solely to humiliate us for the satisfaction of her own vulgar sense of inferiority.
As I was saying to you, Sophia, I threw in the 19th Army Corps, or was it the 17th?
Oh, yes.
And in another 12 hours we'd have smashed the ration line.
France! General Hertzler!
This is splendid, old boy.
My darling Gisela, how stunning you look. Good evening, Sophia.
Gisela, smart, distinguished, entrancing as ever.
Now you must all be quiet because dear General Hertzler is telling me the most thrilling story about the campaign in 1915.
Oh, yes, indeed. I remember it well. You had the Russians in a tight corner.
We were within that of breaking through the enemy's lines, and they had no more than a corporal's guard in reserve. You can readily imagine the consequences. We would have marched on to Petersburg, crushed the Russian Empire, but at the very moment when my plan of campaign had reached a climax, I received a telegram from Prince Max in Berlin telling me to withdraw. Now, I ask you, what was I to do?
Withdraw.
Exactly. And the baffling part of it all is that telegram from Berlin has never been adequately explained. And I can tell you, my dear Gisela...
They're all in here. Gisela, Sophia.
The doctor is telling us about a telegram from Berlin.
I was merely explaining that there was a certain faction in Prussia, headed by Hindenburg, that did not wish Austria to achieve...
And where is Köpke? I don't see him. Isn't he to be with us?
Shut up, Tallis. There can be no question of doubt that Hindenburg was jealous of the inevitable result of my coup. He knew my victory would destroy the Russian power, and Austria would gain the credit for having won the war.
Is His Imperial Highness here yet?
No, Puff is out now trying to find out if there's any word of him.
I beg your pardon?
Hindenburg, of course, was a Prussian of the Prussians, contemptuous of Austria, determined to take away my credit.
What's the general saying?
Something about the war.
Oh, too bad. Too bad.
Oh, Puffy, is there any news?
What about Rudolph? Is he coming?
No, the last train from Salzburg is in, but he wasn't on it.
I can't bear to think they've caught him. He must come, he must.
Of course, with Rudolph there is always hope.
Yes, of course there is hope. Rudolph was always late. Do you remember, Gisela, the time when the Emperor was holding a reception for Edward VII? No.
Herr Baron, the aperitif.
By all means, proceed with them.
Thank you, Herr Baron.
As I was saying, Gisela, the Emperor had commanded all the members of the royal family to be punctual. And of course they all were, with one exception. Rudolph. He was a mere stripling then, but even so, he kept the King of England waiting for 2 hours, while he...
Now, if you will all be good enough to rise. To His Imperial Majesty.
His Imperial Majesty. Well,
Here I am.
you're late, then.
Yes, my love, yes. Is the party in full swing?
It is.
Let us close our eyes to the fact that we all look a bit moth-eaten and concentrate on getting through this with a show of good grace.
Yes, but we're not going to be very uproarious and Tizana.
Perhaps if Luca would give us some really good beer, it might take effect more quickly.
What's everybody saying now?
Elaine. Elena. Oh, darling.
I did so hope you'd be here. And the dear General, how sweet it is to see you.
Elena.
Is it you? And Tati, you should have known I couldn't keep away. And Sophia, how charming you look. And Köpke, Willy Köpke, I can't believe it.
Dear Elena.
Hello, Franz. You knew I'd be here, didn't you?
A good joke on us, a capital joke, just like you, Elena. Bring some more drinks.
Oh, and here's Gisela. How are you, my darling? You're looking so chic, so exactly like yourself.
They told me you weren't coming.
She wanted to surprise us, to make it all the better for herself.
And that's what she's done?
I changed my mind for no reason except a selfish one. I wanted to see all of you and hear you laugh and joke.
Come in to dinner, they're serving champagne. Rico, 1911 and caviar.
With your permission, dear Elena, I think I take precedence.
General.
Torrini must have been too late.
Oh! That damn valet scratched my ear.
You are to stay in that room until I tell you it's safe.
Is she here?
I told you she wouldn't come.
She's here,
No.
isn't she? Isn't
No.
she?
Yes.
Good. You have acted with unexpected competence. Bring her to me.
But they have just sat down to supper. You should join them.
Bring her here. I shall not be hungry for another 43 minutes.
You'd better be careful how you talk to her.
You may now depart, Luther.
She isn't the same one you used to make free with. Her husband is a very fine man, a big man, too.
I shall want champagne. Now go and get her, Luther.
I tell you, you'd better not try any of your old tricks on her. She's different. Take His Imperial Highness champagne.
Yes, Frau. Champagne, Your Highness.
Get out.
Your Highness. Madame.
Rudolph.
How long has it been since you were kissed like that? 10 years? Oh, more than 10 years. Think of it. Come. We'll have a drink.
You know, I realize now how completely I'd forgotten you.
Yes. It's too bad we're not equipped with the power to recall sensations. One of our Creator's most serious mistakes. However, tonight we will both refresh our memories. It's a very graceful tribute, Elena, to wear the necklace I gave you. But good God! That wedding ring! It offends me. Come on, we must remove it.
Give it back to me.
I told you it offends me.
Are you going to give me back my ring?
Yes, my darling, I'll give it back cheerfully. In the morning.
It can't be true. 10 years of exile and humiliation and poverty haven't shaken you in the conviction that Franz Josef is still reigning in Schönbrunn.
No. Oh, I admit there are moments when I suspect that the Habsburgs are not what they once were. But when I see you, my eternally beloved, and realize that you have had the pride to preserve your figure against the day of my return, then I know there has been no revolution.
Don't come near me.
You don't wish to be kissed?
I do not.
Very well. If you feel that you need the inspiration of a little more champagne, you shall have it.
We must go and join the others.
We must do nothing of the kind.
I came here tonight to be with them.
Whereas I came here to be with you. Those pitiful relics are of no interest whatever to me. Come now, drink.
I'm going back to them.
No, you're not.
Get out of my way! Oh! Rudolph, I'll tell them you're here. It's all that's needed to send them into a complete state of delirium.
Oh, very well. I'll show myself to them. His Imperial Highness! I may join you, lady.
A toast, His Imperial Highness.
His Imperial
Highness.
Why are they all so old? Well, have I or have I not done my duty? Now, before we pass on to more mutually agreeable subjects, I suggest that we discuss your husband briefly. Do you love him?
Very much.
Oh, I have no objection to that. He's a doctor, isn't he?
A psychoanalyst.
Uh-huh. A practitioner of Vienna's sole remaining industry. I must meet him and let him study me.
No, he knows all about you already.
Ah, you've told him?
Yes, you'll find your type analyzed in one of his books under the heading Elephantiasis of the Ego.
I doubt that I'd be interested. Have you any children?
No.
I extend my condolences. Let us dismiss the dreary topic of your domestic life and press on with the consideration of my own. But I suppose you know all about it.
No. How have you supported yourself?
In various ways. Now and then, a good run at baccarat, one or two engagements in the cinema studios, Did you see me in the Shattered Idol?
No, I deliberately missed that.
Yes, you did well. As it turned out, I was virtually invisible.
Someone told me you've been running a taxi.
Oh, merely an amusing whim. I've only driven people that I know.
And if you don't know them when you start the drive, you do before it's finished.
You've evidently been listening to gossip.
Have I?
As a matter of fact, Elena, living in Nice is a bore. I've been very lonely.
I've been waiting for you to say that.
You have no sympathy for me?
No.
Your heart wasn't always cold.
You've never been lonely, never deserved an atom of sympathy from anyone.
You don't understand me. No one has ever understood me. I'm inscrutable.
Perhaps, but I'm not impressed by your appeal for pity.
Pity? Have you the effrontery to suggest that I want you to pity me?
Yes.
I see. Then I shall abandon that tack. Ah, Elena, I'm proud to think that it was I who first realized you. For the sight of you now assures me that I was right. You're so beautiful. So beautiful. You delight me. You refresh me. And refreshment is what I most urgently need. My room awaits us. It is over there.
How convenient.
Yes, it's a room that we have occupied before.
I suppose we've occupied all of them.
Yes, we've made history in this hotel. Come, let us make more.
Rudolph,
Yes?
I think I should tell you now that I am not going to bed with you.
Very well. You know, I am being admirably patient with you.
Yes, Rudolph, I know.
I can see that as a result of your purely spiritual marriage, you have developed a certain reluctance which it is for me to overcome. Very well. I accept the challenge confidently. Elena, I know now that I have never loved any woman as I love you. When I see you, I know that I've never loved anyone else at all. You were, you are, and ever will be the one passion of my life. Now, glow with justifiable pride.
Oh, I am glowing. And what other women have you known since then?
Oh, plenty, all kinds. But every one of them has been no more than a proxy for you. Memory has been kind to me, my darling. It has kept you with me through all the days and nights.
It has been otherwise with me.
What do you mean?
A memory has withdrawn.
You're talking nonsense.
I'm talking truth. Bitter truth for you, perhaps.
I don't believe it.
Because you will not face the one important fact.
Which is what?
I am happy with my husband. I love him.
Elena, can you tell me that never once during the years of your union with this great thinker, never once have you shut your eyes and assured yourself it's Rudolph Maximilian?
Not in years have I thought that.
Ah, but there were times, at first, weren't there?
There may have been.
I thought so. And they became less frequent as the years went by. Not because you were learning to be happy with him, but because you were learning to be resigned. I loved you first, and you loved me. You weren't lying when you said you loved me. You never knew how to lie. And I'm only asking you to love me again for a little while, not as a rival of your husband, but as the echo of a voice that enchanted you when you were innocent and impressionable and young. You can still make me adore you, and I can still make you love me. Why not admit it, Elena? There's something in the quality of that laughter which suggests that I am wasting my time.
Oh, Rudolph.
Great God, Elena, I didn't expect...
No, you didn't expect me to take your advice so quickly, did you? You thought I'd keep up the pretense of frigidity forever, didn't you? Am I frozen now?
No. There's been an unaccountable thaw.
Am I restraining myself now? Am I being subdued, repressed, unresponsive? Am I?
No. But for God's sake, Elena, there is such a thing as going too far.
Oh, no, there isn't. Let's open the door.
No.
Yes, I want them to see that I haven't changed, that there are some things that can never change. Come on, everybody. Come on, everybody. Just to the door. Come on.
Look at her. Look at her. All the old enthusiasm. Come now, my darling.
Rudolph.
I give them both happiness.
Happiness and love.
May the night last forever.
Oh, this is the most enchanting moment of my life. It's the same Vienna. The same exquisite Vienna.
Where has he gone? Where is he?
Is there anything the matter?
The police are here. One of the bottles you threw hit somebody in the street.
They'll hear no uproar from the archducal chamber.
Where has he gone? And Frau Krug, what has he done with her?
I haven't the faintest idea.
Elena! Where is she? Why do you all stand there, frozen? Go after her! Find her! I should never have trusted her to go into that bathroom alone.
How did she get out? Did she jump out of the window?
No, she went through another door.
She's left the hotel. Oh, she ought to be ashamed of herself.
She's gone home.
Home? Where does she live?
You've got to stay here.
Why?
The police are in the hotel now. I tell you, she's gone back to her husband.
The psychoanalyst? So much the better. Now, which of you verminous objects is going to tell me where she lives?
Oh, I don't know where she lives.
Do you know?
Puffy knows.
Eula's caught me there.
If you set foot out of this hotel, you're in.
Are you still threatening me with the police?
They'll recognize you, Your Highness.
Any member of the Vienna police force who lays a hand on me will find himself at the bottom of the canal.
They'll shoot you. They'll jump at the chance to finish you.
Oh, very well. Very well.
She doesn't want you anymore.
Oh, yes, she does. She's leading me on. She wants the thrill of the chase. Well, she shall have it. And if the accommodation at her house isn't good enough, I'll bring her back here. So see to it that this party's still going on when I return. Whether it's tomorrow or the next day or whenever. Go on, Poppy.
He'll do it. He'll do it. Nothing will stop him. He'll bring her back and the party will go on forever.
Fools, you fools. Don't you see what will happen? They'll catch him. They'll kill him.
Faruka.
Oh, have they got him?
No. No. His Imperial Highness presents his compliments and wishes you to advance him a few shillings for his taxi fare.
The living room in Dr. Krug's house. Anton is restlessly waiting for Elena to return.
Well, how was it?
Oh, just about as I expected.
Amusing?
No.
No excitement?
None.
You didn't stay there very long.
Didn't I?
It was evidently a bit upsetting.
It was nothing of the kind.
I don't like to question you, Elena, but I'm
You like
rather...
nothing better than to question me.
You know that's not so.
Oh, not usually. Oh, why did you ask me to go? Why?
I thought you might have a good time.
Oh, you were wrong. You know, Anton, your prescriptions are not infallible. But, oh, let's not talk about it now. I'm tired.
Lovely music. Lovely.
Is it?
Well, how was the party? Did anything interesting happen? Tell us all about it.
No, she's going to bed.
Who was there? Any famous people? Well, why are you wearing that coat? Where's your dress?
Good night, Father. Good night, Anton.
This damned wireless set.
Well, what do you make of that, eh? Didn't you notice anything about the way she said good night? No kisses, nor sweet dreams, nor any affection. She was wearing a dress when she left here, wasn't she? There's something the matter. Didn't you notice it?
No.
Well, if you didn't, I did, like you.
She's tired, that's all.
Yes, but why? What happened to her dress? That's what we ought to find out.
There's nothing to find out.
That's the night bell.
Yes, I know. I can hear it.
What do you suppose it is?
I haven't the faintest idea.
You needn't announce me.
Professor, it's a madman.
Another of his patients gone insane.
I'm sorry, Herr Professor, if there'd been any conceivable way of avoiding this.
1,000 pardons for the disturbance, but this dutiful handmaiden seemed to feel that I should be denied admittance. Are you the doctor?
Yes. No.
No?
No, he is. I'm his father.
So you are the Herr Professor Doctor. I'm frankly surprised. My imagination had adorned you with a long grey beard. How do you do?
Who are you?
You're asking me who I am.
I can tell you who he is.
He doesn't know who I am, Poppy. Present me.
Professor Krug, this is the former Archduke Rudolf Maximilian.
The former? One would think that I had already joined my ancestors in their eternal empire. My dear doctor, I wish to see your wife.
My wife has gone to bed.
She will wish to be aroused.
Go to your room, Father.
Me?
Yes, do as you're told.
And you're no longer needed, Poppy. Go back to Lucas.
I beg of you to come with me.
I may be detained a little longer than I had expected.
I'll be at the hotel on call.
I wish I could tell you how glad I am to see you.
You're glad? See me?
Oh, yes. I should think you could imagine why. You've been something of a presence in my home for a long time, ever since Elena and I were married. Not an entirely agreeable presence, I might add, but one that we could never quite get rid of. I naturally resented it a little. But now that I have the chance to see you and talk to you, I can feel much more friendly.
I've known husbands in my time, but you're the first one who ever gave me a kind word.
You're very kind.
Not at all. I'm glad to see you too, Professor. Your reputation has not done you justice. Of course, I've known of you through your books. I've studied them carefully.
All 8 volumes?
You don't believe me? Very well, then, cross-examine.
No. I'm only too eager to take your word for it.
Well, it's very fortunate that you are. Otherwise, I should have been proved a liar. Oh, but I am going to read them. I know now that they're good. Elena, we are friends.
Are you?
We see eye to eye on the most important subject.
Your husband represents the sublimity of the intellectual, and I the quintessence of the emotional. You know, between us there ought to be found the perfect man.
Please go on talking.
Gladly. I have a great deal of interest to say.
Well, I hope you'll cut it short, Rudolph. Not that I'm unmindful of the great distinction conferred on our house by your presence here, but I'm sleepy.
I'm still confident of my ability to keep you awake. But my words are not for you, my darling. They are for our mutual friend, your husband.
I'm anxious to hear them.
Well, to begin at the beginning. Herr Professor, I have been making advances to your wife. I am here now to continue them until the desired objective has been reached. Am I making myself clear?
Perfectly clear.
So far?
Good. You will not fail to see the validity of my claim. 15 years ago, I became intimate with Elena.
I am familiar with the preface.
She was lovely, Herr Professor.
I'm sure of it.
So, I made her my mistress. For 4 beautiful years, I was devoted...
It was hardly more than 2.
Don't interrupt.
Don't exaggerate.
If I'm to be interrupted...
Don't exaggerate.
Permit me to continue.
Of course.
Our idyllic romance was terminated by the revolution. I promised Elena I'd return as soon as I could, but I didn't return. I never even had the chance to say goodbye to her. We were denied the privilege of parting, as most lovers do, with the customary romantic heroism, romantic self-sacrifice. We were wrenched apart. Surely, Herr Doctor, you can see the significance of that wrench.
I've seen a great deal of it.
For 10 years, I have felt the lack of her. So I decided to return to Vienna and have one more look at her, and let my youthful illusions be shattered once and for all.
That was a highly intelligent decision.
It was, in theory. For I assumed that she would have become a commonplace bourgeois housewife.
She has resisted the influences surrounding her.
Yes, she has indeed, and I have been grievously disappointed. I find that my acute want of her was no illusion. It remains a fact which we must all face.
Yes, Anton.
Perhaps you don't believe that it is a fact. Elena didn't at first. I, too, have been conscious of her presence. Elena has been in attendance at all the sordid little romances I've ever known. Herr Doctor, you're a scientist, and I beg of you to consider me as your patient. I need professional advice.
I can't give it.
By a process of suggestion, he compels the patient to advise himself.
It is useless for me to try to consider this in the light of my own experience, because I have never confronted such a problem in just this way before.
Why? With Elena for a wife, I should think that this sort of thing would be coming up all the time.
I'm only a psychiatrist. Your case requires the specialized services of a neuropathologist. There is a very good one in Munich.
I don't want to go to Munich. I want this problem to be settled now.
I'm not a witch doctor. I can't straighten out a mess of glandular complications with a wave of the hand.
You must realize, Herr Doctor, that for all my talk, I am simply a man who lives on sensations. They are meat and drink and the breath of life to me. At the moment, I'm desperately in need of nourishment. Nourishment for my self-esteem.
If this could be dealt with in a rational manner, it would be simple. I would tell you to look at her to your heart's content. Fill your imagination with her. And then see for yourself that for you she has no substance. She is a dream that you've explained and disposed of, and that you can never recapture. But it isn't so simple as all that.
You're right, my friend. It isn't so simple. I must do more than look.
Well, Anton, what have you to say to that?
There is nothing for me to say.
I know. It's a damned awkward situation. When I came in here, I was ready to fight. But you showed me that this dispute should be settled by reason as opposed to force.
And I find that this dispute has become essentially unreasonable.
It has not. My impulses are entirely natural.
And so are my objections to your impulses.
Ah, so you do object?
Yes, I do.
Do you imagine that I want to take her away from you for good and all? I can reassure you on that point. I'm not attempting to shatter your home. I'm asking for only a moment, a fragment of revival. That'll give me enough to live on for another 10 years, by which time I'll hardly be a serious menace to you or to anyone. Now, surely, you can have no objection to that.
You're forcing me into the hellishly uncomfortable position of a jealous husband.
If you'll permit me to say so, you assumed that position voluntarily when you married her.
Yes, I know that.
You admitted the presence that is in your house. Now that presence has materialized, are you afraid to face it?
No, Anton, you won't let him say that.
We have expelled the Habsburgs from Austria, but not all of us have expelled the Habsburgs from ourselves. Now, I want you to leave.
What?
I'm asking you to go.
Taking Elena with me?
No.
Even though she might want to go?
Have you bothered to ask her?
Oh, leave me out of this. You'll have to dispose of me between yourselves.
Get out!
Oh, I'm disappointed in you, Herr Doctor. I see that you're just a husband, no better than the rest of us.
Unless you go of your own accord, I shall attempt to put you out, and I believe I shall succeed.
I'm sure you can, but not without making a ridiculous spectacle of yourself.
Then I shall not delay the process.
Elena, I have exposed him before your eyes. This colossus of intellect, this triumph of civilization is behaving like a vindictive ape.
Get out!
I have to warn you that I'm not going to fight fair.
You'd better not watch this, Elena.
Nothing could induce me to leave now. I've just realized that I've been waiting for this moment for years.
I'm a competent swordsman, but I'm hopelessly inept with my fists. I'll make you an offer.
Then make it quickly.
If you'll permit your intelligence to triumph over your medieval scruples and grant me this negligible favor, then I shall give you in return my one possession, namely this carcass that I wear about my immortal soul, these priceless pounds of flesh. Tomorrow I shall go forth upon the Ringstrasse. I shall kick and insult policemen. My identity will become known. I shall be beaten to earth and shot. I shall die gloriously in the gutter, my head pillowed on a pile of excrement. But before I take this suicidal action, I shall sign documents bequeathing my remains unconditionally to the eminent Professor Dr. What's the name?
Krug.
Krug. You will appreciate my value to science. No? You reject my offer? You insist on being primitive? Very well, then. Come on, Herr Doctor, I'm waiting.
No. You are succeeding in your object.
I? Succeeding?
You're making a fool of me. I should have heeded your warning that you wouldn't fight fair. Confronting you in this way, in the presence of my wife, whom I wish above all others to impress. I can't do it. Oh, I could finish the fight, but I can't start it.
No, Anton, you're wrong. You couldn't finish it. I'm the only one who could do that. I should have known it there at Lucas. I shouldn't have tried to escape. That's the mistake I've always made. Oh, who's that?
Don't tell me that the doctor is being summoned to a patient.
Shall I go?
No, Cathy is awake.
Herr Professor Doctor.
Herr Professor Doctor, my deepest apologies.
What is it?
It's the police.
What do they want?
They want him. They found out about him.
By all means, let them have me. It's an easy disposition of your problem, Herr Professor.
No, you will have to hide.
What good will that do?
I shall not hide.
Cathy, tell the police that Dr. Krug will see them in a moment.
Yes, ma'am.
You must hide. The whole force is out searching for you.
Oh, this is the very depth of ignominy.
In here, Rudolph.
There. Now, Anton, you will have to see them.
I beg of you, Herr Professor, go down and send them away.
Do you think that will stop them from going on with their search?
But surely they will listen to you, your position.
They know perfectly well that there was every likelihood of his coming here. I might get them out of the house, but I can't prevent them from keeping a close watch on him.
But you have the greatest influence with the authorities. You can speak to them, persuade
To do what? To allow him to remain here as my guest?
No, to permit him to leave Austria quietly. If you will only say a word to Herr Vrede, the prefect. He's out at Schönbrunn.
So, I'm to go to Schönbrunn and make all the arrangements?
Oh, yes, Anton, you must do everything you can to help
You will
him.
be performing an act of the greatest generosity.
Yes, Anton.
Will you please wait for me downstairs?
Yes, Herr Professor Doctor.
An act of great generosity. And let us hope of great wisdom.
Well, have you any doubt of the wisdom, Anton?
Yes, I have. But I must not admit it. You heard what my students called me? The Messiah of a new faith. Well, tonight I've heard the bitter injunction that is given to all messiahs. Physician, heal thyself. It's not a comforting thought. However, I must go out to Schönbrunn and see Vrede. I shan't be back before morning.
Oh.
Yes. You saw the truth, Elena. You are the only one who can settle it. If you can laugh at him and pity him as you pity a deluded child, if you can see him for what he is and not for what your memory tells you that he was, then you are free.
Very well, Anton.
Goodbye, Elena. Tell him not to worry. Herr Vrede will be glad to do me a favor. His wife is one of my patients.
Rudolph? Rudolph?
They've gone. You can come out.
Are you sure it's safe?
Perfectly.
Where's your husband?
He's gone.
Where?
To see the prefect of police. He has great influence with the officials. He'll see to it that you're allowed to leave Austria safely.
The soul of magnanimity, isn't he?
Yes.
And sublimely confident of your strength.
Yes.
And contemptuous of me. He's tricked me into his debt, put me on my honor. We deserved to be thrown out. Not because we were tyrants, but because we were all at heart rotten sentimentalists. Yes, the doctor has discovered the essential weakness.
I told you his method of cure. He influences the patient to advise himself.
Yes. And what he has made me advise myself is not very gratifying to my vanity or stimulating to my lecherous impulses, God damn him. While I was in there, hiding, waiting for him to protect me from the law, I looked at my coat and the obsolete medals and the worn-out lining, and it came to me in a revelation that I am no longer an archduke, nephew of an emperor. I'm a taxi driver, dressed up.
And did your revelation also disclose to you what I am?
Yes. You're no longer a mistress. You're a wife, and consequently unprepossessing.
You realized that at last.
I have.
Oh, well, you better have some rest. You'll be traveling in the morning.
Your solicitude is touching. Thank you. Good night.
You've forgotten your coat, Rudolph.
Have I?
Oh, it needs mending.
Please don't bother. I'll never wear it again.
You will, Rudolph. You'll always wear it. Gallantly. Even if the lining is a little torn. It's your coat.
One of the meager possessions of Herr von Habsburg. You're very sweet, Elena. I don't quite know why you should be. But please remember that I'm grateful. And also sorry.
No, Rudolph. You must never be sorry.
Good night, my dear. Goodbye.
Rudolph,
Yes?
you left your coat out here.
Did I?
Yes, Rudolph.
Elena.
Rudolph.
Just as I thought. Not a word in here about what happened last night. One of the most exciting things that's happened in this city for years, and they hush it up. Ha! Kidneys.
You're not to touch them. They're for the Herr Professor Doctor.
I thought as much. Oh, well. Cutty, what did you think of our guest, eh? Did you ever see anyone like that before?
No.
I never did either. I mean, close to. How did they get rid of him? What happened after I went to bed?
I haven't the faintest idea what happened.
Well, I would like to know. It's a sure thing no one's going to tell me.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. You know, it's an extraordinary thing about Vienna. In no other place on earth will you find a finer quality of mornings. As we Viennese are privileged beings. For us, each morning is an adventure, unprecedented and unforgettable. A new day. Breakfast, what have we had?
I thought your Imperial Highness had gone.
What led you to that misconception?
After the police had left, I heard the front door close again.
That was the excellent Herr Professor going forth to clear the atmosphere. Kidneys?
Those are for my son.
He likes kidneys, does he?
He does, and no one is allowed to touch them but him.
You know, the more I hear about that gifted scientist, the more I know him to be a gentleman of discernment and taste. He and I obviously appreciate the same delicacies.
Where did you sleep last night?
Not really, my friend. You're a man of the world, aren't you?
I am nothing of the kind.
I envy you. It's a poor world. If you take my advice, you stay here where you are, in this charming house, in this incomparable city. Ah, our lovely hostess.
Look, Elena. Look at who is having breakfast with me.
Good morning, Father.
Good morning, dear.
Good morning, Rudolph. Gorgeous day, isn't it?
Ah, we've been discussing it.
I couldn't make out what he was talking about.
Will you have coffee, Rudolph?
Oh, I'll have everything. Coffee with whipped cream, rolls, honey, jam, jelly.
Oh, I've forgotten whether you take sugar.
So have I.
Father, what are you laughing
Well,
at?
he said he'd forgotten if he takes sugar.
I don't blame you for laughing. It was a fatuous remark.
A what?
A very silly remark. As a matter of fact, I take 3 lumps.
Oh, he's a fool, isn't he?
I should say that he's a fool.
Good morning.
Oh, Anton.
Well, before anyone else breaks the news, permit me to announce that I have devoured the kidney.
Oh, Catty will cook some more. Now, sit down, Anton. Oh, Buffy, you too.
No, I have already had a huge breakfast at the Hotel Lucca. But I'm afraid this gentleman hasn't. He's been standing out in the street all night.
Why in heaven's name have you been doing that, Buffy?
The police were still there, and I thought I might be needed.
You say you've been at Lucca's?
Yes.
Is the party still going on?
Oh, yes, they all entertained me at breakfast.
How are they now?
They're getting a little sleepy.
Well, then let's rush over and wake them up.
I'm afraid we can't.
Huh?
You and I have to start immediately for Passau, where you will be allowed to cross the frontier. There is a government car downstairs.
I see.
I hate to drag you away.
But it's necessary. Yes, of course it is.
But why do you have to go with him, Anton?
I flatly refuse to hear of such a thing. I'll not take you away from your duties in your home. No, Poppy will escort you.
I should be delighted
No.
to.
No. I have given my word that I myself will see you depart from Austria. The authorities wish me to explain that they will take extraordinary precautions to see that you do not return.
I don't blame them a bit.
I shan't be back much before evening, Elena. Will you tell Zenzi to cancel all my engagements for today?
Yes, Anton, I'll tell her. And I'll send word to the university.
A dutiful wife, Herr Professor. I commend her to you, and you to her. It's a remarkable union, and it'll give me satisfaction to the end of my days to think that perhaps I, in my small way, have contributed something to it.
It's time to go, Rudolph.
I know it is. But before I depart, Herr Professor, let me say that I call your roof tree blessed. For beneath it, a Habsburg has been entertained, royally entertained, and has been granted into the bargain a superb demonstration of applied psychology. Goodbye, Elena.
Goodbye, Rudolph.
No wistful tears, please. Goodbye, Poppy.
Your Highness.
Goodbye, my dear old friend. Goodbye. Safe journey.
Think of me in the morning.
There'll be no trouble.
Anton, there's something I want to say.
Ah, no. There isn't, Elena. You have nothing to say to me. I have only to look at you. My dear, I must hurry.
Yes, Anton, but I wanted to say, when you get to the border, ask him to give you back my wedding ring.
I will. And I left a package for you in the hall. Frau Lucca gave it to me. It's your white dress.
Now, sit down, Poffy, and have some breakfast. You must be famished.
I rather imagine that I am.
All the kidneys are gone. Father, ring the bell. I'll tell Catty to cook some more.
Oh, enough for me, too?
Well, of course.
Good.
Cream?
Oh, no, thanks, Elena. I've got out of the habit of cream.
Ah, but this morning you must.
Oh, thank you.
You know, Elena, I've never in all my life had so much fun.
Neither have I. Switch on the wireless.
Yes. Yes.
Reunion in Vienna, a comedy by Robert Sherwood, was recorded. Principal parts were played as follows: Carty, Beth Boyd; Ernst Godfrey Kenton, Elena Mary Wimbush, Anton Krug, Victor Lucas, Old Krug, Preston Lockwood, Emil Nigel Anthony, Ilse Carol Marsh, Frau Lucher, Fabia Drake, Count von Steintz, Peter Claughton, Puffy, Alan McClelland, and the Archduke Rudolph Maximilian, Francis de Wolf. Other parts were played by members of the BBC Drama Repertory Company. The play was adapted and produced by Joe Burrows. This is the BBC Home Service. It's very nearly 3 minutes past 10, and here, a little late, is the news read by Michael Murray. England's 4-2 win to become world football champions has been praised in many parts of the world. The West German president has awarded his team the Silver Laurel, the country's highest award for sporting achievement. Under the government's new amendments on prices and incomes, employers would face fines of up to £500 if they ignored the standstill and gave wage increases, and people who were overcharged for goods would be able to claim the extra money back. It's said in Birmingham tonight that higher council house rents will be collected from Monday, but corporation officials are to discuss the plan with the minister. 10 people who have been charged in West London tonight after a series of police raids in the Greater London area. Some of the charges go back to 1962 and 63. People in many parts of the world saw the greatest moment in English soccer at Wembley this afternoon when England beat West Germany 4-2 in a sensational and controversial match. For over 3 years, the England team manager, Alf Ramsey, had been saying that they would win the World Cup. Today, in front of a crowd of 100,000 at Wembley and a television audience of 400 million in many countries, he was proved right. It was an emotional moment as the Queen presented the tiny Jules Rimet Cup to the England captain Bobby Moore of West Ham. Some of the team, including Bobby Charlton, were in tears. It was a day of triumph for English football. For the first time, England had become champions of the world at the game they first gave to the world. In Germany tonight, the mood was a mixture of gloom and jubilation. But people didn't seem to feel that West Germany were cheated. And President Lübke awarded his team the Silver Laurel, the country's highest national award for sporting achievement. The West German Chancellor, Dr. Erhard, sent the team a telegram thanking them for a great service to German sport and describing the match as a great game. In South America, the Brazilians and the Argentinians, still smarting at their defeat by England in the quarter-finals, cheered on West Germany and greeted England's victory with silence. But in Buenos Aires, the Argentinians seemed to agree that England were the better side.